Excuse me. Continuing our study of limits, we have just a basic limit here. Remember, your first step is to plug in the value. So we're going to plug in 2 and see what we get. That's 2 squared. 5 times 2 plus 2. That's what we get on the top. Get on the bottom. Okay, so just simplifying that out, that's what we get. So on the top we get 8 plus 2 is 10, 10 minus 10 is 0. 20 minus 14 minus 6, that's 0. So it's 0 over 0. And we know 0 over 0 means do more work. In this particular case, that do more work is factor and reduce. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, factoring was a prerequisite. We went over this last week, so hopefully you're familiar with it and you're good with it. Okay, both of these are hard trinomials. My choices at the top are going to be 2x and x, and the 2 goes here and the 1 here. They are the same sign, both negative. Okay, and again, I don't care how you factor as long as you can factor. Across the bottom, I have got a 5x and an x. And the choices that I think I'm going to use are 3 and 2. This would give me 10 and 3. So that works and give me a 7. I need the 10 to be negative and the 3 positive. So that's how it would factor. Now, my x minus 2's cross out. And so that leaves me with the limit as x goes to 2 of 2x minus 1 over 5x plus 3. Now all I have to do at this point is plug in the 2. So this would be 2 times 2 minus 1, 5 times 2 plus 3. So 4 minus 1 would be 3, and 10 plus 3 would be 13. So your answer is 3 over 13. And that's how it would look. Okay, so here's another one. It has a radical. We'll just plug in like we've been doing. My value to plug in is 25. So 25 minus 25 over 5 minus the square root of 25. So as you can see, that's 0 over 0. 0 over 0 means do more work. Now, do more work usually means factor, and there are some sneaky ways to factor this one, but if it has a radical, I call it rationalize. So in this particular case, we're going to rationalize the denominator. For those of you coming from an algebra class, this was one of the concepts covered there. So let me show you how to rationalize. Okay, first of all, rationalize means get the radical out. It's just a big fancy word, that's all it means. So in this particular case, I want to get the radical out of the bottom. The way that you get the radical out of the bottom is you multiply by something called the conjugate. The conjugate is the exact same two terms. Okay, so I have a 5 and a square root of x, just like in my problem, except you pick the opposite sign. So in my problem, my sign is negative. In my conjugate, the sign is positive. So I'm going to multiply by 5 plus the square root of x. If I multiply on the bottom, I have to also multiply on the top. Now, when you get ready to do this, don't multiply out the top. Only multiply the conjugate part. We call it a conjugate pair. Okay, So I'm going to take the limit as x goes to 25. The top part I'm just going to leave in its factored position. The bottom part I am going to FOIL out, just basic old FOIL back from algebra days. So I'd have 5 times 5, 5 times this radical, which is a positive radical, so that's a positive 5. Get the middle part. This part here would be a negative 5 since that radical is negative. And last, so that's a negative square root of x would be square root of x squared. First, outer, inner, last. Now look what happens across the bottom. A positive 5 radical and a negative 5 square root of x radical cancel out. I know the square root of x squared, this piece right here would just be minus x. Square root of x squared would just give you an x. So simplifying that out, you'd have the limit as x goes to 25 of my factors at the top, 25 minus x, 5 plus square root of x. Across the bottom, everything crossed out except for a 25 and a minus x. Now remember, I kept them factored for a reason. A 25 minus x in the top and a 25 minus x on the bottom cancel out. So that gives me the limit as x goes to 25 of 5 plus the square root of x. That's what's left over. So when I plug that in, I'm going to get 5 plus the square root of 25, which is 5. And 5 plus 5 is 10. That's how it would work.